Over the past week, Donald Trump's comments about Judge Curiel has put him on thin ice with a number of different segments of the Republican Party. That includes folks like conservative radio hosts Hugh Hewitt and Steve Deese, who are among what seems to be a growing chorus of people suggesting that maybe delegates at next month's Republican National Convention should change the rules to stop Trump's coronation if he doesn't change his behavior. How alive are those efforts and how realistic are they? To answer those questions, we are joined by two amazing guests, Republican lawyer and MSNBC political analyst Ben Ginsberg, right here in the studio with me, and from our D.C. bureau, Tim Miller, an advisor to the anti-Trump Our Principles PAC and former communications director for Jeb Bush's presidential campaign. Gentlemen, good to see you. Ben, you have been on television, rules maestro that you are, famous electoral thief. Guy who knows how to work the system. You've been on television saying this can't happen, won't happen, very unlikely to happen. Just explain why you are so pessimistic, even as the voices for potentially a dump Trump thing at the convention get louder.
This is not a pessimism optimism.
Right.
This is simply the political reality. The rules change itself. How to do it mechanically, not terribly difficult. The political will to make history at a convention is much more difficult.
Right, so just to disentangle that for 1 second. Forget about the political will, let's set that aside. Just in terms of the rules, just in terms of what would be required, you're saying that's not the hard part.
No, there are a couple of different ways being floated. To me, the easiest way is to take the rule that says you need a majority of delegates, and you would make that a supermajority of delegates for the first ballot. Delegates become unbound on the second ballot. Simple word change.
Right. So Trump would then need like 2/3 of the delegates to get the ballot, to get the nomination.
Any candidate would. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Tim, to the question that Ben just raised, which is the question of political will. I know you have your finger on the pulse of the Never Trump and now the Dump Trump movement. Tell me about what you think of that. Is there the political will out there to make history at the Republican convention?
Look, I think at this point it's probably unlikely, but there's increasing interest. And as to Ben's point, the mechanics of this are easy enough that if Donald Trump continues to have a couple of bad weeks, I expect that his polling to tank over the next few weeks as Hillary Clinton unites the Democrat Party and begins to get Bernie supporters into her fold. So I think the will could be there. I know that at least one or two members of the Rules Committee have expressed interest in this. And look, from my perspective, if you're of the view that Donald Trump is just a standard Republican nominee in the mold of Mitt Romney or Ronald Reagan or whatever, I understand Ben's point. This seems too extreme to do. But if you're of the view that Donald Trump is a threat to the party and to the Republic, he's anti-GOP platform, anti-Constitution, why would you not want to make a change that would give every delegate the opportunity to vote their conscience? And I think if you did that, Trump would probably still be the nominee. But I think that's the right thing to do for the party and for the delegates.
Guys, I'm going to ask you to engage in a hypothetical. I don't want anyone getting mad. I'm just trying to test the system here, so don't get mad.
Can't wait for this question.
No promises.
Take this away from Donald Trump and the things he's done that have created so much controversy and raised the question we're discussing. Clearly, if the Republican nominee killed a person right now, right, then the delegates would be, the people on the committee would say, well, of course we have to find a way, even though the person got a majority, we have to find a way to bring the nomination to someone else, right?
You mean, or if a candidate got indicted, you would expect a convention to do something wild, hypothetical?
Something like that. So here's my question. Leaving aside the political environment, the media environment, what do you think what kind of offense that could actually be committed by this nominee might change your judgment about whether it was possible?
Well, I'm not sure there is any. I mean, what I'm talking about is you need the leadership to be able to organize not only the Rules Committee of the convention, but the 2,472 delegates themselves. That group doesn't even gather together until the convention starts. So, number one, you would need to see political leadership and somebody who the delegates would actually listen to, and I'm not sure anyone's identified who those people are, combined with the need in the hot atmosphere of the convention to actually be able to form a whip system to get the delegates to do something like that.
Okay, Tim?
Yeah, look, Mark, I think my answer to that is I think that Ben, with all respect, is being kind of limited by what is possible here from a mechanical perspective. This has been an unprecedented year. Donald Trump's an unprecedented candidate. And I think that if the delegates themselves, I know Ted Cruz has over 800 delegates, they could organize amongst themselves and have enough power to make this happen. And in answer to your hypothetical, I think that Donald Trump has already done everything that would need to be done for this to be on the table. And I think the only thing that would have to change for it to become realistic is his viability. I think his poll numbers are basically the only reason why there aren't more prominent people talking about this right now.
Ben, Tim Miller just accused you of having a deadly lack of political imagination, basically, right? Is that the truth, that you were just totally limited by conventional thinking?
I like to think that I see the entire horizon, although maybe not as broad as Tim is seeing right now. I've been on the Rules Committee, I've worked conventions before. I think that setting up a whip operation to be able to achieve something historic like that is just really difficult, and you do need the leadership from the top in a cause. And so I've not seen that either from the leadership of the Republican National Committee or enough elected leaders who actually have the influence with who the delegates are.
Tim, let me ask.
It's difficult. I think Cruz would be the person that could do it.
Right. Tim, let me ask you this question.
In theory.
Let me ask you this question. We had a lot of efforts that went around in the Never Trump movement to try to find a third-party independent candidate. There's discussion about Romney, discussion about others. David French is out. Where does that stand right now? Put aside the question of dump Trump at the convention. Is there any renewed interest in trying to go back to the original people that people tried to get in, or to others and say, we even need this, we need an independent candidate even more than ever now to stop Trump?
I think that there's interest in it. Speaking on behalf of Our Principles PAC, our effort was always focused on the nomination, and the Ricketts family that funds this, they were never really interested in a third-party bid because of all the challenges that go along with that. It's the Texas deadline is now an issue having passed. So there are major questions with a third-party bid. Never say never in this political environment, but it seems unlikely to me.